I'm listening to the beginning of the podcast with the Red Scare host on the portal, and they're getting into cultural appropriation and whatnot. And today there's a Raider game in my neighborhood, Raiders versus the Chargers. So I'm wearing my threeper hat, my Lokes, and my black flannel. So I'm looking very Raider NWA right now, and it's perfect. I just woke up in that mood. What that mood is nothing. It's actually nothing more than I like the way this makes me look. But I know it echoes that kind of thing. Anyway, just came back from the Breakfast Club, and I was very chatty this morning. But here's what the real deal is. The woman, I forget her name and I can't pronounce it right now yet, is talking about the vagaries, the intricacies of cultural appropriation. And so I'm starting to riff on that. And here, let me just get into it. So let's imagine you were, Blind Lemon Johnson or somebody like that, who were the actual real victims of cultural appropriation. If you were the dude that Elvis actually ripped off, and you had this cultural skill or this musical skill, but you didn't have legal backup, and you got raped for that. There's still something about the blues that you are trying to share with people, and maybe white people in the 20s didn't know that they needed the blues, and that's why they watered it down or did what they had to do with it so that they could get a piece of the real deep soul of the blues. But if that's cultural appropriation, then you have to understand that there's some part of that the artists themselves wanted to give away or share with everybody else. I mean, you don't get on the stage and say, okay, all white people get out of here because this is the blues and this is by us, for us, about us. So I'm saying that there's a lot of ways that the musician has to be universal, or the musician, even a folk musician, in the meat of what they're doing, is doing it for their folk. I mean, if you're gonna have that's like the Red Hot Chili Peppers did a song called American Ghost Dance. All right, it was a rock and roll song, but maybe it was in the same key as actually a ghost dance may have been. And I don't know that it made the Peppers any money, but they did put it on a record. But you see what I'm saying is, if it's cultural appropriation to sing to white people, why should you get mad if white people sing the song? All right, so yeah, there was an industry created, a commercial industry, out of making music popular, and I don't know, Hollywood has done that better than any place on the planet. Is that a universal theft, or is Hollywood just, the minstrel show, a fundamental American thing that only Americans could do, but only Americans could understand? I don't know. I mean, do we get mad when other people use a blues signature? That's I mean, I guess that's a question for Rick Beato to say, did actually Brahms or Beethoven or Bach do some blues signature or pentatonics or whatever that was? I don't know. I don't think anybody really appreciates the music at that level who's talking about cultural appropriation. So my conclusion is that even if those people got paid, if they got paid like Step and Fetch It got paid, and all of them got paid, would that be an industry that would be part of the reparation for slavery? I don't think you could ever make it up on a hit record. Because artists got to play. Artists got to create. If they're in their soul, they just got to do it. They don't necessarily get rich. I mean, I think maybe you look at Bernard Purdie. Purdie is the beat. He is the beat. And and I didn't realize that he did a lot of stuff with Steely Dan. And he says he did stuff with the Beatles, that he is the fifth Beatle, or the sixth Beatle, depending on how you count. And everybody says that Ringo's got no skills, but there may be Purdy's beats on some of those records. And that may have made all the difference. And certainly it makes sense, that Purdy's beat made a lot of the Beatles what they became. But Purdy's not hating. So my look at it is this. There is a lot of hope, I think, latent in Black America for reparations and for the beloved community. And there's true benighted communities that need the beloved community. But on the other hand, that's where soul comes from. It's born of the struggle. And I guess my quick soundbite on that is that the Jews didn't need the blues. And I hate to be one who sets up, comparisons like that, because they don't work. Every analogy breaks down. And I'm just saying, if you wanted the beloved community, what establishes that? What enables that? Is it, could you, like, if you look at Faces of the Bottom of the Well, I read Faces of the Bottom of the Well by Derrick Bell in the late 80s, maybe in 90, I don't know. And he comes up with two scenarios that are supposed to raise the race. And you got to ask yourself, how are you raising the race? Are you raising the race economically? Is it the fact that there is no Elvis? Because we can't disprove that there is no Elvis. I suppose you could say, yeah, there's Eminem, but Eminem doesn't represent hip hop. Eminem's just a part of it. But you can't say that there is no what? Could you say maybe Michael McDonald is the new Elvis, or is it Daryl Hall? What the Blue-Eyed Soul is? Can you say that they are culturally appropriating because they made money? And I know the Commodores, most of the Commodores died broke, and Lionel Richie made all the money, and that's because he crossed over. Was he wrong? Do we supposed to own Lionel Richie? It's like nobody's supposed to make love to Lionel Richie songs except for black people. That's like the Black Baby Cultural Production Center. So let's get back to Derrick Bell. Derrick Bell puts up a couple scenarios in his book Faces at the Bottom of the Well about how you do what might broadly be spoken of as tomming. And I'm saying tomming could be a strategy, is just a partial strategy of any of all the strategies, some of which are very stereotypical, which is, this is a black thing you can't understand, and you better not try to understand, because that's our shit. To bridge the gap. And if you're gonna be a diehard about it and say there can be no white soul, then you're kind of stuck in the same racial game as anybody who ever plays it. So what gets you out? What is significantly good in the black experience that gets you out of that legacy of slavery, or whatever is the psychological thing you got to overcome? And Bell's first scenario is Afro-Atlantica Rising. And Afro-Atlantica is like this mythical African city in the middle of the the Mediterranean, that arises out of the ocean, and it is kind of what people expect now Wakanda, Marvel's Wakanda, to be, where Africans have this special technology such that this is a part of no continent where only African descendants can go. Nobody else can go there. And you witness their pyramids, and it's like the Michael Jackson, do you remember the Time video, where all the dudes are like Magic Johnson and all the chicks are like Iman, and Eddie Murphy and Iman are sitting on the throne, and Michael Jackson comes dancing, shows all this magic. And this is a just wonderful coming to America kind of thing that raises the spirits of everybody who visits there. And this place is so wonderful as a black future vision that you don't even have to go there. You just have to know it exists. And it raises the race. It raises the spirits of the race. It gives back the self-esteem, and it cures what the scholars call native alienation. Native alienation being, they took our religion, our God, ourselves, our music, our church, and some of us, by the way we act, they even stole our mind. That's a paraphrase quote from Louis Farrakhan. And so that's one scenario. The other scenario is kind of like this white militia group, violent militia group, the Neo John Brown Society that says, out there looking like Navy SEAL operators, scruffy and ZZ Top looking dudes in the woods with suspenders and overalls on, and they've got, they're armed to the teeth with their ARs and their shotguns and their Uzis, and they're like, we are down with the brothers, and we are going to defend you to the death. Any slight against your dignity, we will punish to the full extent of our ability to wreak havoc and sow chaos. And so if you know that there are white people who are down with you and they got the little John Brown logo on the inside of their wrist, or the Threeper flag, are you down with that? Is that good enough for you? Is that the kind of brotherhood you actually want from white people? You want anti-racists to the core who are like John Brown, basically. And does that thing, or the very idea of this, some of that had to make some sense, because after all, Derrick Bell got some clout, and he made the book, and the book made him popular and famous, and hopefully a little bit richer. But does it do it? Does it do it? Is that enough? And I guess that's the question. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. But I'm cynical about it, because I'm saying that any one of those strategies are never going to work, because there are not enough songs in all the churches and all the hymnals that make black people what black people dream of being as a people. The beloved community, after all this time, has not, gelled. The race, the color of the skin, and the combination of content of character and politics have not unified black America, because it's too easy to assume one of these other strategies to get people where they want to go. And so you don't have this beloved community. Atlanta, being the black Mecca, is not the place, nor is Bowie, Maryland, and PG County, nor is View Park in LA or Baldwin Hills. None of these places gives the black nation the nationhood that it wants or desires. And all the whites that culture vulture themselves into it, you can't, there's never going to be a cover song of Public Enemy. All right, that was the solution. If you didn't like them using the blues chords, well, then you got to make it all, another kind of music that'll never be appropriated, where all the producers are saying, yo, 1998, this is the producer speaking on this track. You're never going to rip me off, Doris Day. You'll never have a country version of the Public Enemy sound catalog. All right, there's no way you can rip it off. And if it ever was going to be ripped off, it was done when they did Bring the Noise with the white group, and I can't remember. It wasn't Rage Against the Machine, was it? I don't know. But my point is, if you want to keep it blackety black in a folk culture that's never going to escape, well, you kind of already have that, and that's everything that's that is unmarketable. All right, if it's marketable, then it's appropriatable, and yeah, it's a bad deal for somebody to get screwed in the royalties, and that's. But you can't keep it black because the racial myth is still a myth. There's nothing you can do about that. And I wonder how many people are really upset about that. I mean, there's a part of me that wanted to be, the black novelist, the follow-on to James Baldwin, and I started writing online, and that it didn't come out in a novel form, but I spent a lot of time doing a lot of writing, and I thought, when Zadie Smith came along, I was like, I don't want to read her stuff. Now she's popular, blah, blah, blah. And I was hating. And George C. Wolfe, and I was hating. And Colson Whitehead, and I was hating. But I was also saying, that's just such a small coterie. It's not going to revolutionize all this cultural production, as much as I had this love-hate relationship at a distance from Lisa Jones, Mary Baraka's daughter, and oh God, what was the name? What was the name of the Greg Tate? When I was living in Brooklyn at the time, the Brooklyn Renaissance, whenever that was, in 92. But there's just, I still think there's this feeling, this taste for a beloved community on a smaller scale. And I still think some of my friends have that, and they feel compromised when they have to cross over. And I understand that, but you never unify. You never unify. And even Barack Obama didn't unify. Barack Obama did not bring, the beloved community, because when Barack Obama came to View Park, it was like invitation only, and it was somebody's living room, and is just as exclusive as anything. So I don't think there's going to be a way to get that black nationalistic impulse satisfied through cultural production. There's just, I just don't think there's a way. And I'm cynical about it. I'm not cynical about it. I'm skeptical about it, because the thing with black identity, you can pop in when you feel like it. You can be as black as you want to be, and you can go into your nigger bag when you feel the necessity. And it's a deep bag. It's a humanity bag, and there's only so many reified black expressions that you can use. I mean, if this whole thing wasn't black and white, if it was green and red, I'd be Santa Claus. And there's nothing I can do about that. And if I have stars and bars up here, I can't cross that line. So it's all stereotypical anyway. The creations are all part of, this narrow thing that you can say, okay, this is a legit black nationalist kind of hope and dream. It's Rachel Dolezal was only caught out because she was the NAACP. If she was with any other thing, nobody would care. If she was with Roy Innis in the Congress of Race in core, then people would say, oh, Roy Innis, he's not really black the way he's supposed to be black. And so, I am cynical about the orthodoxy, and I am cynical about, one book of hymns that's going to get everybody, onward marching like black Christian soldiers. And, it's not going to be a coherent religion until it becomes a coherent religion. So Rastafari, let's see what they do first. So yeah, I'm one of those people that dropped the ball, that was carrying a torch for a new, what we call the cultural black nationalism, and it's ideas that don't work. In the end, they don't work, and they haven't worked. And not to be so flip about it, but there's more of your people out there than you expect. And as soon as you put a racial barrier on it, you're cutting yourself off from so much of humanity. And that's part of the problem. I mean, you can match parts of the black soul with parts of the Russian soul, parts of the Jewish soul, parts of the Armenian soul, parts of the Israeli soul, parts of Ethiopian soul, parts of Australian soul. You know, these are things that I've been able to do, and at some point you just like, you know, you can accept that your soul music doesn't translate, that somebody else could do a cover of it, and that's okay, and there's not going to be a set or a single black superstar that's going to make everything click and we understand, or Thanos and get rid of all the enemy. It's too fluid, and that's a wonderful thing, that it is fluid, and that allows there to be new creativity and new blackness, and you know, you just can't play the race game. You got to play some other game, and I don't think you can play the class game, which is new for me saying that. There's too much that we don't know about ourselves, and that's what looking at psychology has told me, which I never expected to look at psychology, but that's okay. So that's it. That's all I'm saying this morning. That was a lot. See ya.